With just 1 month to go before facing Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather is not carrying himself like a former champion just soaking in the fame. Instead, he is carrying himself like someone who is fighting to guard his legacy.
Jab the right hand. Drop.
Sit back. My boy didn't shut to me. He said, how you like a man? I'm an old man. I'm an old man. Come on. So record the old man. Oh. Whoa. He turned it up now.
Because that 50-0 record is not just a simple number. It is a reputation that has no restart option. Many people look at the cars, the watches, and the fancy lifestyle and think his desire is gone. But thinking that way about Floyd is the worst error anyone can make.
Get back. Get back. Right to him, right to him, right to him, right to him. I can catch it. Hit brother Frank. I should flip roll. I should. Right, flip flip. Stop. Slip roll. Slip is that roll. Hachi. Roll.
Behind all that style and show is a training habit that seems almost too intense, especially once you watch him work the heavy bag. There are no rounds and no bell to give a break, just 20 to 40 minutes of non-stop controlled force where he moves smoothly, pauses, and then bursts with quick, sharp combinations, as if he is reminding the bag exactly who is in charge. He may stop now and then for some water, but there is no real rest. Just a steady pace that creates something most boxers lose as they age, which is top-level fitness. And that is what people often miss. We have never seen Floyd lose his energy. Not in the later rounds, not when the fight gets tough, and not when things turn messy. His footwork is still quick, his reactions are still fast, and his punches still land with snap as if it is the very first round, even while others around him begin to slow down. He works the right hand here and the hook right there. That kind of skill is not luck. It comes from training sessions where tiredness is his rival and he simply does not accept losing. So, while everyone else talks about the show, the money, and the storylines, Floyd stays in the gym calmly polishing the very thing that has supported him throughout his whole career.
Well, if you
don't know, I want to tell everybody this. The last time I made 25 million, I made more, but last time I made 25 million was 10 years ago.
Wow.
I'm not bragging or boasting, I'm just telling the truth. I'm appreciative and thankful. $25 million is still great money.
Sure, sure.
But
it's not Mayweather money.
Well, you know, for the last, I don't know how many years, my guaranteed lowest is be like 32, a little bit over 32. That's my lowest. But you'll also know that in the Canelo fight, you know, I made over 100 million in that fight. And then in a Pacquiao, just in 2 fights.
Oh my God.
Pacquiao and Canelo, those 2 fights, somewhere upwards of 400 million. I mean, probably 400 million or better. And just me and sponsorship money. Leading up to the Pacquiao fight, that week I made somewhere 25 to 30 million.
Wow, that's crazy.
So these are my numbers. And, you know, they can say Floyd lying all they want to. If I was so desperate and hurting for money, I'll come back.
And just as you are watching Floyd turn the heavy bag into a long test of fitness, Mike Tyson steps into the picture like someone who does not believe in tests at all, only results, disorder, and whatever takes place when 2 fighters share air inside the same ring. The interviewer tries to get a reaction with the usual question about how to beat the shoulder roll defense, and Tyson simply answers that anything can happen, which sounds plain until you understand that is exactly how aggressive fighters think. There is no game plan or detailed strategy, just good timing, strong presence, and that single instant when everything falls apart. But what really changes the mood is Tyson moving away from the match and speaking about his invitational event as if that is his true goal now.
Looking in phenomenal shape. You look shredded. You're supposed to fight Floyd next month, correct?
Yeah, next month, a month from now, we're ready, whatever.
How do you beat the shoulder roll? He's 50 and 0.
Huh?
How do you crack the shoulder roll?
It happens, you never know. Hey, listen, I think this established my importance in the boxing world more so than the amateur, than the professional fighting, because this is the future. You know, Mike Tyson got a great name.
He clearly states that his legacy as a legend is over and done. And I find myself thinking, wait a moment. Most fighters hold on to that word as if it is life itself, but Tyson treats it like old news. That shows a very high level of self-awareness. Then he moves on to talk about hard work and says he does not see the same effort in gyms these days. And I have to admit, that hits hard because it comes from someone who used to train like every day was a fight for survival. Then out of nowhere, he mentions fear, not excitement or anger, but fear, saying that if you are not nervous, then you are not meant for this sport. That right there is something casual viewers never truly get. The best fighters are not without fear, they simply stay controlled under pressure. So now you have Floyd building steady endurance in the gym and Tyson speaking like someone who believes more in disorder than in strict plans.
But
Hey, guys, one last question, okay?
What part fear plays in a career of a fighter?
Well, if you're not crazy and you're doing this, you're insane, okay? So I worry about guys that are not nervous before fighting because they'll never be a great fighter. Because when you're scared, you avoid pain, you avoid getting hit. And if you're one of those guys that have no fear, you're gonna constantly get hit. And you're not gonna end the game finish. By the time you finish fighting, you'll be talking another language. And that's what happens to those tough guys. And at the end of their career, they're speaking another.
And that is what happens to those tough competitors. By the end of their careers, they start speaking in a way that is hard to follow. Right when Tyson leaves us thinking about fear, control, and disorder all meeting inside a boxing ring, Oscar de la Hoya steps in sounding like a man who is partly amused, partly puzzled, and very aware of how the sport really works behind the scenes. He straight up calls the Mayweather-Pacquiao rematch entertainment. And I am sitting there thinking that is the simplest way to say what everyone else is avoiding. Not disrespect, not excitement, just entertainment. But then Oscar adds something more pointed when he says that if it is a real fight with real rules, then yes, it is a proper night for boxing. That if carries a lot of weight. And when he picks Floyd to win, notice how he explains it, not with emotion or suspense, but with routine. He says Floyd always looks after himself, always trains, and always stays sharp.
I think would win it if it's a real fight, because that's what Pacquiao wants, it seems.
Yeah, I think Mayweather will
Mayweather. I think Mayweather will take it. Yeah, see, one thing about Mayweather you have to understand is he's always taking care of himself. Like, his body, physically, mentally, he's always been very sharp and always staying in the gym and doing something physically, right? That's the big advantage he has. I mean, he's an athlete. He's a world-class athlete. Watching Pacquiao's last fight, yeah, you kind of feel.
And just like that, everything we discussed about Floyd's training suddenly makes full sense. That is not luck, that is a habit. Then Oscar shifts his focus to Pacquiao, and you can sense both respect and honesty in his words. He clearly says it is not the same Pacquiao he once fought. And that statement lands like a quiet truth that few are willing to speak. But Oscar does not stop there, because he then casually calls Deontay Wilder an underachiever. That part feels like a whole different topic jumping into the mix. He praises Wilder's knockout power as if it comes from a storybook, but then questions how often he fights, saying that boxers today compete too little, and suddenly we are no longer discussing legends. We are discussing an entire group of fighters treating their careers like a long race with rest stops. And that is what makes Oscar so interesting in these interviews. He begins with memories, moves into business, offers a prediction, and then criticizes modern boxing like someone who is a promoter, a fighter, and a fan, all speaking at the same time.
I feel bad for him, and even though he did win and he did, I guess, pull off a surprise in his last fight with a draw against the world champion, but still you tend to kind of like feel bad because it's not the same Pacquiao. It's definitely not the same Pacquiao I faced. That's for sure. The one that put me on my stool in the 9th round. But I still think that Mayweather will pull this one off. I mean, if it does.
And just as Oscar leaves us balancing nostalgia, honesty, and a bit of quiet uncertainty, Dan Rafael steps in like someone who already knew the outcome months ago and is simply waiting for the rest to figure it out. He says straight out that this rematch is not a shock. And I appreciate that tone because it removes all the fake surprise right away. While fans act like this came out of nowhere, Dan is basically saying that we have been down this road before and people just were not paying close attention. But then he shifts direction, and this is where things become more interesting because he does not even view it as a real boxing debate. He views it like a product. He mentions that it is not meant for the hardcore fans who argue about scorecards late at night. It is meant for the casual viewers browsing through streaming services and deciding what to watch after their meal. And that statement changes the whole discussion because now the question is not whether it is competitive, but whether it is familiar. And guess what? Mayweather and Pacquiao still stand out like a well-known global brand.
Through Netflix to see what's on a weekend night. They're going to look and say, oh, Mayweather, Pacquiao, I know those guys. They're as famous as any boxers in the world. And if it doesn't cost me any extra money and I'm just paying my normal subscription, yeah, I'll check it out. And it's going to do big numbers. That's why Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson did the numbers it did. And that's why, we saw them be interested in a fight like Jake Paul against Anthony Joshua and the other events that they have done. Tyson Fury's come back as they try to, build up more in the UK. And this is going to be.
Dan even points out that the first fight broke every record possible. But now, years later, it is no longer about setting new records. It is about sparking interest. Then he brings up that MMA comparison with Rousey and Carano, and I find myself thinking that is a great point because it reveals the thinking behind it all. People do not need the best performance. They need well-known names and a reason to tune in. And here is the funny contradiction that Dan quietly exposes without even raising his voice. The same hardcore fans who are now rolling their eyes will still end up watching. He clearly says that boxing fans are hooked. They complain, they argue, they criticize, and then they still show up. So while some people are trying to judge this like it is 2015 all over again, Dan is treating it like a 2026 business plan. And to be honest, that is the part many do not want to accept. This is going to end up the same way.
They put out a lot of money to do the fight, but not as much as what obviously they generated in 2015. And, it will be, it'll be a big event, but how much of a fight it will be, who the heck knows? But I mean, to answer the question, I'm not like looking forward to it, but it's one of those things that, you got to write about, you got to cover, and you got to, be involved in because it's still two of the greatest, most famous.
So when you step back and look at the bigger picture, this whole situation starts to feel less like a simple fight build-up and more like three separate worlds colliding at once. You have Floyd in the gym working like a machine that does not age, protecting that 50-0 record as if it is a valuable piece of history that can still strike back. Then Tyson arrives with that wild and unpredictable energy, not trying to plan everything out, just believing that disorder will eventually break through any structure. Oscar steps in and gently reminds everyone that this is still a business wrapped in memory, where control beats emotion and lasting habits matter more than short-term excitement. And Dan Rafael pulls the cover all the way off and says that this is no longer about the dedicated fans. This is a worldwide product built on interest, not on perfection. That is the real surprise. This whole event is not aiming to be the best fight. It is aiming to be the most watched moment. And somehow all of that exists at the same time. Legacy, money, control, disorder, entertainment, all mixed together in one event that people will question all week and still tune in the moment it begins.
For millions of people who are going to tune in to watch Pacquiao Mayweather. Again, it is not being put on Netflix for you or me or the folks that watch Boxing Social or all the diehards. It's for
casual.
Me and my reaction to the announcement of that MMA fight they're doing. And that was my epiphany.
We would love to hear your views in the comments section. Who do you believe has the edge here, Floyd's precision or Tyson's unpredictability? And do you view this as a true competition or simply the biggest show of the year? Also, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to Boxing Headquarters.